Happy Friday. So, my name's Tim, and I'm a scientist. And so my job is I go out and I study the world all around us. So if you've ever been outside and you had a question about something, like why is the sky blue, why are the trees green, my job is to answer questions like that. So I hear you guys are doing the unit on heroes right now. Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys 3 stories about some of the work that I do in the environment, working to better understand this planet called Earth that we live on in ways that you can use science in really fun and exciting ways. So for my talk today, I'm going to tell you guys 3 stories from around the world where I've done research on the planet. So one story is going to be here in San Diego. One of the stories is going to be way out in the middle of the ocean. And then the last story is going to be high in the mountains in the middle of India. So the first story I'm going to tell you is about the San Alejo Lagoon. Has anybody been to the San Alejo Lagoon before? So this is a big wetland we have between Solana Beach and Encinitas. And part of the group I work for is we're doing a really big project in the lagoon right now to make it better. And part of that project, we put a whole bunch of sand on the beach. So here's a picture of some pieces of equipment moving lots of sand around on the beach. And one of the questions people have when we put sand on the beach is, what's that going to do to the beach? Have you guys ever been to the beach before? Do you guys, who likes to go boogie boarding? Do you guys like to go walking around on the beach? How about you guys been to tide pools? Yeah, so when we put all the sand on the beach, one of the things we were wondering is that going to affect how people use the beach at all? So one of my jobs this last year was for the state of California, I had to go out and go surfing on the beach with this little, see this surfboard right here? So this is a little GPS device on the surfboard, and it tracks where you are while you're surfing. And so I did a project for the state where I'd go surfing on all the waves, and we mapped where all the waves were in Encinitas and Solana Beach, and see if when we put sand on the beach, if it had any impact on how good the surf was. So that's one example how here in Encinitas, as a scientist, I get to enjoy being outside and then use my science skills to solve problems for the state of California. So the next story I'm going to tell you guys about is way out at that star in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So does anybody recognize this? What's that?
Trash.
That's trash, plastic trash. So where does all that go if it gets washed down the drain during a rainstorm? Out into the ocean, right? So how much trash is out in the ocean? How do we know? Yeah, so I've actually been out there twice on 2 different boats. So the picture on the top is a big boat I went out on off the coast of California, out about 1,000 miles north of Hawaii. And then the second picture on the bottom is it's almost like a pirate ship. That's another boat I went out on when I sailed from Mexico all the way down to Tahiti. And on both these boats, what we did is we had really big nets. And as we're sailing along, we dragged the nets through the water. And what do you think we're going to pick up in those nets? Trash. So this is a picture of some of those nets. And then this is the lead scientist on one of those trips. Her name's Miriam. And she organized the whole thing. And basically what we did is we sailed across the ocean. And as we sailed, we ran into big clumps of plastic like this. And our nets, we picked them up. And then you find stuff like this, little bits of plastic along with the fish. And we count all the pieces of plastic. And these were 2 of the first trips that were ever done to go out into the middle of the ocean and try and count how much plastic's in the ocean. And this is another way we're going to use science to go out on a really exciting adventure and ask really interesting questions and come back with answers that help people all over the world understand the impact that we have on the Earth. So now the last story I'm going to tell you guys about some of the work I do as a scientist, and then afterwards you guys can ask me some questions, is we're going to go all the way over to the middle of Asia, to the Himalayan mountains. Has anybody heard of Mount Everest before?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the tallest mountain in the world. So we're going to go over to that area of the world now. So this is another map of the world. You guys see all those blue areas up there?
Yeah.
So those are all areas where people rely on snowfall for their water. So if it snows, that's the water that they end up drinking later in the year. That's the water they use to water all their crops. And that's basically how they survive. And so California is one of these places. And as you guys might know, sometimes it's really wet in San Diego. We have really big rainstorms. Sometimes it's really, really, really dry. So how much water we have every year really depends on what the weather's like. And with climate change, that's changing. And so California, we have people whose jobs it is to go out into the mountains and measure how much water's in our snow. Because that's the water that's, when you turn your tap on at your house, if you trace that water back, it was started up in the mountains, really far away. And so one of my jobs is I go out into the mountains, and these are 2 pictures of me, and we dig giant holes in the snow. And then when we go down to the bottom of the hole, we count and we measure how much water is in all the snow. And we use that to let everybody know how much water they're going to have every year. So this is a picture of me near Mount Everest in India. And in this area of the world, there's about 1 billion people who rely on snow for all their water. And so this is really important because you need water every day to survive. And so we're doing work out there to help them understand, well, how much water do they have now? And how much water are they going to have with climate change? And so I'm going to give you a little overview of how we got there and what we did. It's really exciting. So first you have to fly all the way around the world. So it takes 20 hours in the airplane to get to where I went. So you have to fly all the way around the world. This is a picture in the airplane looking down at all the snowy mountains that you fly over on the way to get there. Once we got to India, we had to rent a car to drive around. So this is me and the other scientist I went with. His name's Ned. We rented this little car. And then you have to drive up into the mountains. So this is us driving up into the mountains. The closer you get, the worse the roads get. So that's the main freeway where we were. There's room for 1 car. You can see the snow up there. There's big rocks coming down. It's really exciting. And then, you guys see that? Look at all that snow. This is driving up even higher into the mountains where all the snow is. And eventually you have to park the car. So this is us parked here. We have to get from where we're parked up to the top of that mountain. How do you think we get up? How do you get up there? Yeah, you gotta walk. So you have to make a map. This is one of our maps where you start at the bottom, figure out how we're gonna get to the top of the mountain. Start walking. This is me skiing in India, getting up to the top of the mountain. There's not roads everywhere, so there's people who live up here who don't have cars. So this is walking past some houses. That's me down in the corner. There's some horses up there. Walk through the villages. Eventually, you get up past all the people, way up in the tops of the mountains. That's me hiking up. And you find a spot to measure the snow. See how much water's in it. Let everyone know how much water they're going to have that year. And a lot of what we do is use that information and combine it with cool pictures like this. So this is a picture of the area that I went that was taken from a satellite up in space. And we use these satellite pictures along with our measurements of how much water there is to let everybody know how much water they're going to have every year. And so that's kind of 3 stories of how I use science to answer questions that help people around the world. And just want to let you guys know, these are all questions that you guys can answer too. So all the work I do starts with a little bit of curiosity, wondering, why did that happen? What makes this work? And walking around nature, like I saw, you guys saw some really cool trails here, right off of your campus. Just walking around and exploring, thinking about stuff, and getting really excited when you don't understand something. So that's probably the best part of my job, is if I don't understand something, that's when I know I'm going to have a really good time. Because I know I need to go figure out what I can do and how I can figure out what's going on. So that's kind of just a little bit of the things that I do, how I use science in my work every day. So do you guys have any questions about any of the stuff that I work on? Yeah? You're going to be a scientist? Awesome. Do you know what kind of science you want to do? No? Cool. Yeah, it's really fun. It's fun work. Yeah?
What's your favorite thing to study?
What's my favorite? My favorite thing to study is probably water. So everything I study has to do with water. And I like the snow stuff a lot, because at the end of the day, after you climb to the top of the mountain, you can ski all the way down, which is really fun. Yeah?
What
My most favorite adventure. I really haven't been on a bad adventure, but I'd say going to India was probably the most exciting. And then the second most exciting was sailing on the pirate ship all the way to Tahiti. Yeah?
Are you good at surfing?
I think so. Yeah, I surf. So I surf for work like a few days a week sometimes. So I get to go out quite a bit. Yeah.
How long were you a scientist?
How what?
How long were you a scientist?
Okay, so he asked me a question. How long have I been a scientist? So what grade are you guys in right now? Second grade. So last year I finished what is kind of like 30th grade. So after I went to college, I went to graduate school. And I got my master's degree, and then I got a PhD, and then now I'm a researcher. So I've been a scientist really since I was in first or second grade, just like you guys. You guys are all scientists right now. You guys ever had a question? Have you been trying to find an answer to that question? If you've done that, you're a scientist. So you guys have all been able to do that. Yeah?
I used to have this kit to get bugs in the can. And when they do it, sometimes I try to eat bugs in it.
Cool. So that's really awesome. So he was talking about how he used to have a bug kit. He was really interested in bugs. So a lot of the work that I've done, I work with like water and plants and stuff that's not alive. But I work with lots of scientists that study the animals as well. And we all work together on lots of problems. Yeah?
How do you measure the water?
So yeah, how do you in the snow? So he asked, how do you measure the water in the snow? So you know how deep the snow is?
Yeah.
And then you take little samples of the snow and you weigh it. And depending on how heavy it is and how deep it is, you know how much water there is. So, yeah?
Who do you work with?
So I work with Nature Collective, which is a nonprofit here in San Diego. And then I also work with the University of California. Have you guys heard of UCSB?
Yeah.
UCSB, yeah, so I work with people, I'm part of that organization also. Yeah?
Were you able to draw any conclusions from surfing about the role of the new sand on the beach?
Yeah, so she asked for my surfing work, did we learn anything about the sand? So we did, and that's that when we put 400,000 cubic yards of sand on the beach. That's if you took 200 swimming pools and you filled them up with sand, and you dumped them on the beach, that's how much sand we put out there. And it didn't have any negative impacts on the ocean. And that was kind of on purpose because we didn't want to hurt any of the animals in the beach when we put the sand there. So before we put the sand on the beach, there were a whole bunch of other scientists who thought for a few years about how we could do it and not cause any problems. And so I was kind of the last person to check, make sure it all went well. Yeah?
Where do you work at?
So I think I work both here in San Diego for Nature Collective and then also for the University of California. Have any of you guys been to Mammoth before to go skiing? So, who's been on the gondola? So if you're in the gondola at Mammoth and you get halfway up the mountain, if you look off to your left, you'll see a big kind of fort with a bunch of antennas on it, and that's one of our main research bases, where we do a lot of our work for the snow stuff. Yeah?
How old were you when you started to be a scientist?
I was your guys' age. Yeah, when I was a little kid. So yeah, whenever you had a question about how something works, that's being a scientist, is figuring it out.
How much trash did you collect last time you got the trash from the boat?
So last time we were on the boat, so the boat was probably 3 times the size of this room, a really big boat. And we probably had a pile of trash that was bigger than me and longer than this room. But we went out there not to pick the trash up, but to count the trash. So we sailed around to count as much as possible to let everyone know how much was out there. Yeah? Yeah.
When you said that you sailed from Mexico to somewhere, I do fencing and I have a coach at Team Touche, and his name is Coach Raul, and he's from Cuba.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so there's people from all over the world also that come from different places that, like when I study stuff like the plastic in the ocean or the water in the mountains, it affects everyone all over the world. So it's kind of really important to always think about not only what's happening here in San Diego, but what's happening everywhere. Yeah?
What's your least favorite adventure?
My least, I haven't had one I didn't like. Probably sitting in traffic on the freeway. Yeah? Both of you. You can go first.
How far did you go
On the boats?
when you saw?
Oh, out where the waves break. Out the big waves on the outside. Yeah. What was it? Huh? How late? So on the boats, on the first trip, we went about 2,000 miles. So do you guys know where Hawaii is?
Yeah.
We were like 1,000 miles north of Hawaii, halfway between Hawaii and Alaska. And the second time, it was about 4,000 miles from Mexico to Tahiti. Be farther than if you tried to drive all the way across America. Yeah?
Did you practice being a scientist?
Did I practice being a scientist? Yeah, so every day I practice being a scientist. And this goes back to what I was saying about if you're curious about something, or if you realize there's something you don't understand, all of being a scientist is getting excited about that and then figuring out how to learn about what you don't understand. Yeah? What inspired me to? I think I really like being outside. I love playing outside. And so I really wanted to find work that I could do where I could help the world and spend a lot of time outside. And so I've chosen types of science that are more, it's called like environmental science, where I get to spend a lot of time outside while working. Do you guys like being outside? Yeah. Yeah, so I was just the same as you guys. Yeah? How many pounds of water did I find? So that's a good question. So like for California, 70% of the water that we use every year starts as snow. So imagine all the water everybody uses in all of California, and 70% of that is what we would be measuring, is that much water. So it's a lot of water. Take a few more, but how much more time do we have? 5 minutes? Okay, I'll have some more questions. Yeah?
How do you get out of the hole you did?
That is a really good question. So she asked, how do we get out of the holes we dig in the snow? So you guys see these holes? They're kind of deep, right?
Yeah.
So
Big stairs.
it's really, yeah. Have you guys been to the snow before?
Yeah.
Have you ever made a snowman or dug a cave? So you got to start with a really big hole, and as you dig it down, you make little stairs that go down. So when you're done, you can get out. And sometimes the snow is so deep, we have to bring a ladder with us and put the ladder down in the hole, and then climb down the ladder to get to the bottom of the hole, and then climb out. And then at the end of the day, we always fill the hole in, so if someone comes by, they don't fall in the hole. Yeah?
Whenever we go to the beach, my dad digs these big holes, and we just go in them, and it's water splashes in, and it's like a little.
That's awesome. Yeah, so that's the same kind of hole. Does he fill them up at the end of the day? Yeah, so yeah. Dig a hole and fill it up. Yeah? Oh, that's a good question. So she asked what this long thing is over here. Do you guys see that long thing above my head? So that's a ruler that's 3 meters long. So it's like a 10-foot tall ruler that has a really sharp end, so you can poke it through the snow, and you can push it down through the snow till it hits the ground, and then you look on the ruler, and it tells you how deep the snow is. So you can go around with those and stick them into the snow and see how deep the snow is everywhere. Yeah? What's my favorite part about being a scientist? I think my favorite part is that I get really excited when I figure out something that no one's thought about before. So my day is really different every day. So I'm always doing new stuff. If I have a question, if I'm interested in something, and I don't understand it, my job is to go figure that out. So I really enjoy that, because I get to kind of go on all these different trips and study all these different things based on what is interesting. Yeah?
How long did it take for you to get to the
How long on the boats did it take? So the trips, each trip on the boat was about 2 months.
2 months?
Yeah. So imagine being on a boat for 2 months. Yeah. So what do you eat? So there's a chef on the boat. You make food. You sleep on the boat. You work on the boat. And yeah. Yeah. What's that? In the snow? Like put it through the snow? That's what we do with the ruler. Oh, why do we dig a hole? So the ruler tells you how deep the snow is, but it doesn't tell you how much water's in the snow. So you could have the snow that's 3 feet deep, 2 different piles, and they have different amounts of water. So you have to measure it, you have to weigh it to see how much water's in it. All right, I'll do 5 more questions. 1. It's moving, or it's rocking around. It's like being on a roller coaster while you're sleeping. And sometimes the waves are really big, and so it's kind of hard to sleep because you fly off your bed every few seconds. All right, 2. Oh, so she asked whether there's a dog in one of my pictures. So in front of the village we went through, there were a bunch of dogs in the village. And one of the dogs came along with us for a little bit one day. In India when we were in the mountains. All right, 3 more questions. Yeah? So digging one of those holes takes like 4 hours, 5 hours. All day long. Yeah, so you gotta bring snacks and put on some sunscreen and dig the hole. Oh yeah, so she had a really good question. I just said we had to put a lot of sunscreen on. So up in the mountains, snow reflects a lot of sunlight. So you actually get more sunburn in the mountains than you can at the beach. So you actually have to put more sunscreen on your foot up here than you would if you're at the beach down here. Right, 2 more questions. Yeah? I think so, yeah. It was just kind of, had nothing else to do that day. All right. Last question, yeah? There's bathrooms on the boat, just like there's bathrooms here at the school. So there's a lot of rooms on it. It's kind of like a big building just floating around on the ocean. So, all right, I'll do 1 more question. Yeah? No, you get used to it. So, yeah. Yeah. Cool, so I just want to say thank you to everyone for listening to me. And the one thing I just want you guys to remember is if you ever have a question about something you see in the natural outside on your hiking or walking around, get really excited when you don't understand what's going on because that's an opportunity to learn something new. And that's basically how I got to where I am today. So I hope this was helpful and you guys got a lot out of it for your unit and enjoy the rest of your day and weekend.